computer.
Oh God, a choice.
Okay, we're muting, so we'll leave it up to you. Thanks so much, Liz.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So I don't want this to be like me just talking all the time to you guys. So I would love it if you interact and ask me questions. And just as we go, I don't have to have a spiel where I have to just keep talking. But I've got some notes just to my side there on my screen so that if I lose my train of thought, I've got something to refer to. So if I sort of look sideways a little bit, that's me just checking my notes to make sure I've got everything covered. Hello, Hannah. Look at all you non-social distancing rebels. That's so cool. Okay, I'm just so glad to have become part of the doTERRA group with you, Amy. I remember ages ago, I went to a course with Hannah, just a little meetup with Hannah some time ago. She was such a darling, and I learned quite a lot. And one of my very best Facebook posts that went absolutely bananas was how to make your own foaming hand soap. And it's incredibly simple. And I use the doTERRA oil as well, but you can also make it unscented. And that was using just the liquid Castile soap in a recycled foam pump bottle. And it was so popular. It's fascinating how people want to be able to do these things themselves, and they want to also have natural products. So that was inspired by Hannah. So that was really cool. Okay, so I just want to tell you guys a little bit about myself, just in case you wonder why I can stand here and talk to you about decluttering and organising and things like that. So I was raised in a very poor single parent home in West Auckland. My mum had a mental illness, and we were very good at making the most of the money that we had, but my mum was very English about it. So we would have, put our wellies on and go and do the veggie gardening, and we'd go to the op shops and buy clothes and things that we could wear, because we didn't have the opportunity to actually buy clothes and farmers or anything like that. That was an unheard of luxury. So I learned from a very long time ago to be very, very frugal. And I got into a bit of a hoarding mentality. My partner was also very, very frugal and loved buying things that were on special, things that might come in handy. If they were on special, he'd buy it regardless of whether he needed it or not. So in the end, I ended up with an absolutely packed home, stuffed to the gills. My wardrobes, I had 2 wardrobes, 2 meters long, each one. So I had 4 meters worth solid packed secondhand clothing. And because I didn't wear, over 3/4 of them, I would just look at them and keep them organized, tidy them up, make them look nice, color coordinate them, put them in seasons and fiddle around with them, but not actually wear them. And then a little while ago, I separated from my partner, and excuse me, I've just took a cup of tea, and I became an accidental minimalist. I moved from a massive house in Mount Albert, 4 bedrooms and my 2 wardrobes, to this little tiny apartment. You can see behind me, this is one of the bedrooms downstairs, which I've turned into sort of like an office, and a wardrobe that I can just stand inside, this big. So I've had to reduce my wardrobe right down to the tiniest possible amount. And my house as well, my home is now infinitesimal amount of stuff in comparison to what I actually had. So I had to minimalize what I had, declutter in wave after wave after wave of stuff, cheap and nasty crap, a lot of secondhand stuff, which wasn't bad quality a lot of the time, but I had to get rid of it because I had nowhere to put it. So I learned the hard way how to downsize, declutter and minimize from massive amounts to really not much at all. So when I separated from my partner, I also had a big restructure. The work that I also like to do is in the archives department in the libraries. And I thought I was going to lose my job. So I had to think about what it was that I love to do more than anything in the world. So one of the things I love to do was to declutter and organize. So I've been organizing all that crap in that big house for many, many years. Loved making it look nice and pretty. And now I love decluttering, and I loved living without so much stuff around me. It was so incredibly calming. I've never really understood that, but it was amazing. So the other thing that I love to do was talk to women one-on-one, and talk to women in groups about living their best life and what what that looks like. And having too much crap around you, and crap that does not serve you, excuse my language, I hope that doesn't offend anybody, that does not serve our life. That does not give us happiness. It does not provide us an environment for our best life and our well-being. So that's what I'm going on about mostly today. I tend to blog a lot about that sort of stuff. When I started out my website, I would blog, you know, nifty little tips on how to put things in Ziploc bags. And I still do that, that's fine. But my real passion is talking to women about making their homes really work for them, totally serve them, not them serving all the stuff, the crap in their homes, moving things around to keep things tidy, shoving things into cupboards and into spare rooms when people come over, you know, just eliminating all of that and just living your best life in your home, a home that really serves you and it's beautiful to you. I wrote an article about what I did. It's called How I Failed at the KonMari Method and Learned to Relax. I don't know if you're familiar with KonMari. She's a Marie Kondo. She's the one who folds everything into little tiny parcels and tucks them into things. She's a Japanese girl. And it's a very beautiful way of living. But I failed miserably at that. I have not got the patience to fold things. I did fold my knickers for a little bit because I had one little tiny drawer for my knickers, but now I don't care. I just shove them all in there and pull them out. I can't see them, so it's fine. The concept of KonMari is that you keep only things that are beautiful and fill you with joy. So I find that a little bit difficult because a lot of my clients say, well, this hammer doesn't fill me with joy, I'm going to throw it out. So you have to think practically about it as well. Make sure that you still keep the things that make sense in your life. So practical KonMariing is a different story. I tend to mainly be just very simple, very straightforward, and I just work with each individual woman, what she wants, and everything is possible within what a woman wants in her home. So I am 51 and it's taken me 40 odd years to work out that living in your home needs to be a place where you are restored, where you are happy to retreat, where your whole family are, you could say, nurtured if you want. Everybody has the capacity to relax and grow, including mum. Just because she's mum doesn't mean that she's the one who has to keep everything tidy and everything clean and do all the dishes and all the cooking and doesn't get a space of her own when everybody else has a space of their own. So, interesting part of the dynamics of families within the home is clutter blindness. I don't know if you notice that the people around you, they don't seem to see the same kind of clutter that you see. A lot of the time, that's because their priorities are completely and utterly different from ours. We are particularly, they say that men are very visual, but in actual fact, women are also very visual. We notice what is around us. We notice the patterns of things that are around us. And they cause us emotional or nervous stress, even a very low-grade stress. So it's important to bear that in mind when you are trying to explain to the people in your family about why it's important to you to declutter or keep things tidy or put things back. They often don't understand that because it's so low down on their priority list. They'd much rather play a game. Gaming, fine, whatever. But their priorities need to be a little bit also about what your priorities are. If you are a team, if you are equals within your home, if you are a loving family or in a loving relationship, it's important to respect the other person's presence in the home and what they need as well. There's a lot of compromises that happen. I've had to tell some men a couple of things about their women and how they treat their women in their homes. And one guy I made laugh so much he had tears in his eyes. I told him he was a grown-ass man and it's time he started to act like one, the way he treated his wife in the home. So that worked really well. It was like just humor, you know, just making him laugh, and he got it. So that worked really well. Husbands often are really difficult because they often, if I have an appointment with them, they just don't turn up, or they sulk and flounce. It's such drama queens, but we get there in the end. And normally it's just a matter of just pointing out the blinding obvious that they are not the only person who lives in the home, and it is important to respect the wife or partner. And it's also important to do it the other way as well, that the woman needs to respect the presence of the man in the home. So there's a lot of relationship coaching that I also do when I'm helping someone, coaching them to make their home a better place that makes them happy. Starts with clutter, but there's so much more going on. It's just so many layers. One of the things that I have noticed is that a lot of my clients, and I used to do this too, is we prioritize other people above ourselves. So we don't do things like ensure that our needs are filled first. But you've heard of the old saying, you know, the oxygen mask. So a lot of my clients are so devoted to their children, utterly devoted to their children in every conceivable way. Their hearts are walking around outside of their bodies and their kids. And kids know this. They're not silly. They know how to push mum's buttons. They know how to get what they want. It's their drive to survive. They know what they need to do to have the best possible life as a kid. And mums often given far too easily to their own detriment. Decluttering toys is one of the things that I like to reinforce with mums, that very few kids are ever going to be deeply traumatized by having their toys decluttered. Most of the kids nowadays have so many toys, it's insane. It's just, a lot of my clients, you can't even see the carpet. It's just mad. So I have a system which is very fluid. It's not really a system, but it's called Secret Mum Business. So you as a mum, you know everything about your child. You notice every pattern, every signal, every sign. You notice what they play with. Sometimes you notice what they play with all the time. You know what they take to bed with them, and you know what's shoved under the bed, broken, covered in dust, and a bit manky. So kids, when they see things that you've decluttered, will scavenge. They will want everything back again because their eyes see the sparkly thing or the broken thing or the colorful thing, and they want it. They cannot conceive of the fact that they will ever get anything as awesome ever again in their whole lives. But of course they will. You know that they will. And you know what is good quality, what is not good quality. So hiding what you declutter from kids, really, you're only going to declutter the things that are not going to upset them. And it's usually really easy to do that initial sweep and just move out stuff that you know is trash, and hide it from your kids. Cardboard boxes and dark plastic bags. Another thing you can do is, once you've done that, is to recycle toys, so you don't have to buy as many. Is that you just do a little declutter of things that they haven't played with for ages, put it in a box somewhere up high. They can't see it, they don't know where it is. If they ask for something, you can go and get it, but you can bet your bottom dollar they're not going to. And you can either use that as a method of decluttering. If they never ask for anything ever again, not even looking for any of those things, in 6 months time that can just go to an op shop and some other child will love it. Alternatively, you can just do a swap, bring that box back and open it up again. It's like a whole new bunch of toys, and they'll be so excited. And you can do the same with the old toys. But we do receive so many gifts. Children receive so many gifts. Doing a little initial declutter whenever you know there are more presents that are going to be coming in, grandparents, friends, everybody who loves this child, more presents will be coming in, guaranteed. They're never going to be deprived. So that's a really good thing to remember. As a mum, you totally can do that. It is okay, and the kids will be okay. Okay, I'm just going to tell you a couple of stories about hoarding. Really interesting thing, hoarding. So there's a scale of hoarding. There are people who are on the very furthest maximum limit of mental trauma and severe anxiety. They are clinically hoarding. They have a mental health issue, and a symptom of that mental health issue is hoarding. And they're the sorts of people that you see on the TV shows who are devastated when it comes to their items being decluttered. And those shows are unbelievably cruel because the hoarder needs to be supported by a psychiatrist. They need to be supported by mental health professionals and family. And it's a long, long process unraveling the trauma that initiated the hoarding instinct. And that needs to be respected. We can be disgusted and we can be horrified, but the truth of the matter is that they truly cannot help themselves. I have come to a few people who have had severe hoarding problems, and it has been almost a dangerous place to be, because if you did move something, you could be crushed. And the only thing that I can do is recommend that they do see mental health professionals. There is only so much that I can do. I am not a trained psychiatrist to help these people, but there are services out there where people can be helped. And I have a web page. It's called Hoarding. One of my pages on my website is Hoarding Resources. So there are a number of very intelligent documents and places where you can go and search for hoarders, help for hoarders, people who specialize in anxiety and helping people to break free from hoarding. Some of the other people that I have come across who call themselves hoarders have got some of the symptoms, but they're usually based around a poverty mindset. I had one client who had just built herself a $3 million home in Herne Bay. And she was a hands-on girl. She had been there with the concrete mixers. She had done everything herself. She project managed it herself, as well as running a business and a family. And she called me in to organize her wardrobe. She just had it up to here. She could not cope with sorting out anything anymore. She just wanted to start living her life. And she had this huge walk-in wardrobe. It was beautiful. Glass drawers, acres and acres of rods and cupboards and cubbies. And she just had this mountain of clothes. So I organized it all. I put everything into perfect order, exactly the way she needed it to be, so she could retrieve what she wanted. When I had finished, she could not wedge in one single another item of any kind whatsoever. She could not fit in maybe one top. She'd asked me to do the KonMari thing where I'd folded everything to neat little packages, because it was the only way we could get her, oh Lord, 200 long sleeved skivvies. She must have had 200 of. Every single one was a designer skivvy. Every single one had come from Paris or Germany or a designer in New Zealand. She didn't love them. She didn't care for them. They were scrunched and they were just not looked after as well at all. But I'd folded them and made them beautiful, put them in color order, and she could maybe fit one more in if she folded it perfectly and wedged it in. I spoke to her about decluttering, and mainly the decluttering that I highlighted just to help her take an easy step was her handbags. So she had about 73 handbags around the top of her wardrobe shelves, and they were beautiful. They were just divine designer handbags. She had an entire Gucci set, which she had never used. You know, the luggage sets, that, you know, absolutely beautiful. So I had color coordinated them all for her, put them in with little dividers that she had shipped over from overseas. And she couldn't fit another one in, not a single one. So I spoke to her about them, and I said, you know that one of the best ways of making yourself feel good about letting something go is to donate it, to give it to a charity, perhaps for an auction. And she couldn't bring herself to do that. She said that they cost so much money. I can't let them go. I spent so much money on them. So this woman who just built a $3 million house and had this phenomenal wardrobe and this incredible collections of handbags was coming from a place of poverty, the poverty mindset. It's a fascinating place to come from. And I've been there because of my poor mum, growing up West Auckland, single mum, on the DPB at the time. And I know, I understand that poverty mindset. My partner had the poverty mindset. It's fear. It's fear that you'll never get again what it is that you've got. A lot of older people have it as well because they've grown up through the Depression, or their folks grew up through the Depression. And you have to keep everything just in case you will never have anything good ever again. But we live in such an exceptionally luxurious world now that we can get anything we want, anytime we want. And I'm not talking about getting rid of everything, but sometimes it's okay to let things go and give them. You can gift them. So I did a bit of negotiating with her and asked her if there was any way she could give some of these amazing designer items away. And she decided that she could maybe give one or two to her staff, because her staff worked really hard, but she did pay them. But she could maybe, as a bonus, give them a handbag. But it was agony. She couldn't let go of the money that was in these items. And that was why she had a wardrobe so stuffed that she couldn't pack another thing in. So poverty mindset pops up everywhere. It pops up in every single level of society, whatever you want to call it. And it is a huge driver for holding on to clutter, stuff that does not serve us, stuff that we don't do. It's crap a lot of the time. Even if it's not crap, it doesn't serve us. If we're not using it, it's just a thing, just sitting there. It has absolutely no purpose. You know, the old school saying, like, if you buy something quality, costs a lot of money, but say it's a jacket, and you wear it every week for 10 years because it's awesome quality, beautiful, that never loses condition, you've got your money's worth out of that. But a $2,000 handbag that just sits there and gets dusty has not earned itself. It is still $2,000 just sitting there. It's a lump of leather. Hey, I'm just looking at my notes, just because I tend to talk a lot. I get a bit carried away. Okay, so a lot of women's self-care is really interesting. A lot of us have a tendency to pretend that everything is just perfect. So you guys can't see the pile down beside me of things that I had in the space, my office, because at the moment my car is full of donations which I need to take away. So the things in my car are in my office on the floor. Everything else looks lovely, looks terribly minimal and tranquil, doesn't it? But down there it's not so much. We are all on the hot mess spectrum somewhere in our lives, and that is okay. It is okay. If you haven't come across the hot mess concept before, I think it normally refers to people with just crazy lives. You're a train wreck sort of thing, hot mess. But we can apply that to any part of our lives. Those cupboards that we shut and we shove everything into when we know we have guests coming over. Some people have whole room like that I have helped to. Some people just have a cupboard that they regularly get to and here again. Everybody to have and to not to be perfect. That's one thing I just wanted to get that, because so many women say, I'm embarrassed, Liz, I don't want to show you my home. I'm so embarrassed that I've got all this in this cupboard. And it's just life. Nowadays we have so many things and we acquire so much all the time. It's just normal now, really, to be honest. And we're so busy, and it can be really stressful trying to manage our lives as well as all the things that we have. So one of the things I have noticed with my clients and my friends is that a lot of women, we're really mean to ourselves. We sometimes feel that doing something kind or good for ourselves or spending money on ourselves is selfish. It makes us feel uncomfortable. And I believe that that is not the case at all. It does not mean that we are selfish, mean, or lazy if we need to take a break or call on someone to help us or even hire a cleaner. It causes such horror in so many people's concepts of how they're allowed to be. I find it extraordinary. I personally absolutely hate washing my car with such a passion. I will pay someone to valet my car. So a lovely little man in Henderson, and I call him a lovely little man because he is little. He is 5 feet tall, and he cleans my car for me. He's absolutely marvelous, and I am happy to pay for that. And a lot of my clients have incredibly busy lives. It's insane. They've got a whole house to manage. They're studying or they're trying to build a business. They've got kids, they've got husbands, they've got mums who are ill, they've got dogs, and they don't have a cleaner. And they can afford a cleaner, but they think it's an indulgence because they're at home. And I find that mind-blowing, because why would you want to clean a house if you didn't have to unless you loved it? If you love cleaning, great, it's wonderful, fantastic. Some people love ironing, some people love washing windows. It's therapeutic, it's like a meditation. But If you hate cleaning and it is exhausting and you are ridiculously busy and you can afford to get a cleaner in once a month, it's not an indulgence. It is essential for your well-being to give you the time to do the things that you love to do. If it means that one day you actually get to spend more time with your baby, playing with her or taking her outside or something like that because someone else is cleaning your house, and you get to come back to a house that is clean and you didn't have to lift a finger, you deserve that. That is not an indulgence. You are busy. You have things to do, people to care for, and yourself. You have to care for yourself as well. I often say to husbands, if you're at home, would you be cleaning the toilet and the bathroom and the kitchen and washing the floors? And they would say, no, I'd get a cleaner. And this seems to be a double, it doesn't seem right, does it? So I often ask my clients, if they have the money and if they can afford it, whatever, even if it's one clean, every 6 months, you deserve it. It should not be limiting the amount of money that you spend on your life and your well-being. We have one life. Let's just say, let's go with that for now. You have one life, and right now is the only life that you are living. So why are we not making this the best possible life for ourselves that we can right now? Right now. Obviously, we're not going to take food from our children's mouths in order to get a cleaner, but you know what I mean. So we deserve to be and to have and to do things that we want. We deserve it. Just because our mum stayed home and slaved does not mean that we have to. And it does not mean that we have to cook every meal from scratch unless you want to, unless you love doing that. We deserve to breathe air. We deserve respect. We deserve respect from our partners. We deserve respect from our children. And we deserve to respect ourselves and our needs. And part of that is making sure that our life and our home serves us. That's about respecting yourself. You have a choice as to how you are going to live your life in your home. And you have control over how you do that as well. A lot of women that I come across have such a concept of work hard, settle, just do what you can with what you've got. But settling does not serve us. Settling for a house full of things that does not work for us, it is not good for us moving forwards into a better life. I think every woman is beautiful, and every woman has amazing potential in her, and every woman deserves to live a beautiful life. And that can start in your home. Are you looking around at things in your home that make you unhappy or that cause you stress? Things that you have to clear an entire cupboard out in order to get to the thing at the back because you remembered that you have it, but there's so much crap in front of it, you can't get to it. I don't believe that that is serving you. I don't believe that that is living a beautiful life. Part of our home's purpose is to allow us to think about our future, allow us to plan and work towards the future life that we have, that we would dream of. A lot of the time we settle, we sit, we think, oh, I'll do that again some other time in the future, when the kids have left home, when we've paid off the mortgage, all these things we put off constantly. But our homes provides us a safe place, a protected place to nurture ourselves, a place where we can study to improve our future, a place where we can exercise or do our craft that we love to do so much, a place where we can work, where we can concentrate on what it is that we need to do, a place where we can just do the bills, even just a place where we can relax, and a place where we can spend time with our kids without yelling at them for making a mess or having to clean up all the time or moving things around the house so it looks like it's tidy but never finding a place for anything. A huge number of my clients don't even have a space on their kitchen bench or their dining room table where they can sit down and do the bills. They have to shove things out the way, push toys out the way. They haven't got a space of their own, and they don't insist on that. They don't make it happen because they don't think they deserve it. But I do. It's about planning strategically for your best life. It's like, let's take kids, for example. Teenagers are a flipping nightmare. I often get mums ask me if I would come in and sort out the teenage girl's room. And I say, no, I am not going to do that unless she's with me. We're going to do it together, she and I. Or I'll coach you guys and you guys can do it together. Because you want to maintain a healthy relationship with that girl. And that is a strategy. That is a strategy to maintain a communication channel. So let's use the worst possible case scenario. Say she's really unhappy and she feels, who can she talk to? Who is the person that is the least combative person in her life? And you don't want to start creating a combative atmosphere when it comes to her space, which is her zone, which she is struggling to develop. Her own identity and her own place is really important to her. So a couple of times I have just shut the door on a teenager's room and said to the mum, this is her space. We're not going to touch it until she's ready. And you hear another little voice on the other side that says, thank you, Liz, because she's really listening. So strategy around decluttering is extraordinary because we're talking about your future in your life. So when you declutter, you do it strategically because you need to make your home a better place for you and your family. You're not just wildly and randomly decluttering here and there, then not doing it for no reason whatsoever. It's a strategy to make a space for yourself, to make a yoga room so you can have clients. It's a strategy for creating more peace in your home because you're strategic decluttering. Okay, a lot of the time our things are a little bit like comfy old slippers. We get so used to them being around and we feel comfort with them being around. But one of the things that we really need to think about is, where are we living? Are those things about nostalgia? Is that you looking backwards and holding on to something that does not serve your new life or your future life? It's an important thing to think about. I have known people who have been unable to get into their bedroom, or sneak in sideways, because their mother's dressing table took up so much space they couldn't get around their bed. And the only reason they keep that dressing table, which they don't actually like, is because it was their mother's, and they feel an emotion around that enormous object. But it does not serve them. It makes the space that is in their room too difficult for them to actually use. They can't use the space properly as a bedroom should be used. They can't get through the door properly. So we had to, with this particular client, we had to really delve deep as to what it was about this particular item that made it so important to her to keep. And we've discovered that actually it was the mirror that was on top of the dresser, the old-fashioned mirror. So we took the mirror off and we hung it on the wall and we sold the dresser on Trade Me. And she was happier with her space. So there's always a reason behind what it is that we, and there's always a compromise way around it. Getting rid of things and making the space work for you, but keeping the things that mean the most to you. One of the things that people think that I do is I make people throw things out. I come and boss you around, like a grumpy old nanny. But I never do that. I have never once ever suggested that anybody throw anything out. That is not what I do. I ask questions, I coach, and I work out with a person what they would like to remove from their home. And then together we do it. And that's how it's done. Let's have a look. Oh, yes. Okay. Men. Okay. Why do they keep grotty old clothes? So men and women are raised differently. At least they used to be. My generation, maybe the next generation down as well. Quite different now, I think, in the way young men are being raised. But it always used to be women are judged by how they look. From the moment we pop out of the womb, we are dressed in pretty things and we are judged about our behavior and our appearance. and boys most often are not. This is a big generalization, but I have found it to be mostly true. Guys don't care about that grotty piece of clothing that they wear. They don't care about the old trackies with the paint on them. They don't care about that comfy old t-shirt that's got stains on it and maybe holes in it as well. It's comfortable. They like it. Why should they change it? It's fine. Even incredibly wealthy men do exactly the same thing. I've had millionaires slop around in the most disgusting old slippers and jeans I have ever seen because they're comfortable. They're old shoes, they're old jeans. They like them. They find no reason whatsoever to change. And that's because in their brain, there's nothing wrong with dressing like that. There's nothing wrong with what we would think of as scuzzy old things. But for us, it's quite different. We have self-judgment as well as external judgment as to how we look and the things that we wear and the things that we have. So if we could have a little tiny bit of what they have, that wouldn't hurt. And if they could have a little tiny bit of what we have, they wouldn't hurt either. So in this particular case, I don't have a resolution for this issue because we don't want to make people give up things that they love. And that's another issue with a lot of men that I have come across as well. They're deeply sentimental. And a lot of women roll their eyes when they hear this, my clients. But you know that little bit of wire that they want to keep, that they cannot bear to throw out? All those cables that they're keeping just in case, bits of wood that they've got stacked up. They are emotional things. Those objects, those little pieces of wire and tubes and useful things, they remind them of the way they were raised. They remind them of their father, of their grandfather. The guy you could go to who could fix anything. If your trike broke, he could fix it. It made him feel good. That old lawnmower that your granddad still keeps, he used that to mow the lawn on a summer's day when your grandma was holding your dad on her hip and waving at him through the kitchen window. And he remembers that. Men are immensely sentimental about the things that they believe make them the provider, the fixer of all things, the useful person, the dad, the friendly neighbor, the helpful person. It gives them a feeling of worth and well-being. So one of the things that I do when I declutter a garage or a workshop, I really bear this in mind. And we have to use logic a lot of the time, but often we can't. That's why it's really difficult with perhaps retiring people who are moving into retirement villages and they don't have that kind of storage or workshops. It can be very difficult and it can be a slow process because of the emotional attachment to these things. It is about their sense of self, which a lot of people forget. Okay, Amy, how much more time do I have?
We've got about another 10 minutes, but we could do a little question Q&A if anybody wants to do any questions.
Okay. I've got one more point.
Good.
And that is sustainable acquisition. So it's all very well decluttering, but the problem is what we bring into our home. We can declutter as much as we like, but if we continue to trawl through fashion websites and op shops and specials that are around in the stores and bring more and more stuff into our home, you have to think about how you're going to get rid of that in the end. I do a huge amount of donations for my clients. It makes you feel good, and it is a sustainable way of getting a object to continue its life rather than going into landfill. So every single time you buy something, it is important to remember at some point in the future, someone is going to have to dispose of that thing. It might not be until the day that you die, but it might be when you move house. It might be next week. You just don't know when that is going to happen. So thinking about how an item may be disposed of or recycled when you are buying something is really important. It's important for sustainability, but it's also important for sustaining a clutter-free home. Yeah, that's pretty much it, Amy. I remember saying at the beginning and I wanted to be a conversation, but blah, there I just went all the words. So
very good, I love it.
So any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Where do you start?
Oh, also, I've got to work. Where do you start? There's two places you can start. So the first one is you can either start with the place that it drives you the craziest the most, or the place that is the easiest. The place that drives you the craziest the most is usually the one that has the most impact and causes the most stress, like the kitchen bench, that kind of thing. Kitchen bench is usually a big one because that becomes the dumping zone for absolutely everything. One of the things that is quite important about managing areas where you plonk things is to think about, before you even put anything down on that surface, is where does that thing belong? Does it belong here? And if it doesn't, before you put it down, divert and go and put it where it should belong, if you possibly can. Easy things to declutter would be things like just get rid of, say, 50% of all the glass jars you've been keeping because you might use them because you're being sustainable. From what I have what I have seen is the majority of people don't use about 75 to 50% of the glass jars that they are keeping. It's fine to keep some, absolutely, because that's really important. And if you pickle or preserve, then, you know, knock yourself out. Takeaway containers, easy things like that, easy things to declutter. We go through your kids' clothes, easy peasy. If they've grown out of that one, out it goes. Socks with holes in them, just incredibly easy things. Magazines, junk mail, scrappy little bits of envelopes, anything that you can easily scan for is a great place to start because it feels really good. It feels good when you've cleared away rubbish and things that are just lying around that are just annoying you. Yeah, that's probably the best place, the best two places to start. Either the one place that drives you absolutely mad, or the easiest possible place. And if the thing that drives you mad is huge, just break it right down and just focus on one little tiny spot. And setting a timer also is another way of making something manageable as well. If you've got a huge room and you don't know where to start, you can set a timer for 5 minutes and you just declutter whatever you can within that 5 minutes. An alternative is by item. So you can decide you're going to declutter 5 items or 12, and that's it. You make a decision. 2 items, could be whatever you want, whatever amount applies to the space that you're dealing with. Because one of the things that people don't realize is it takes longer to declutter a small space packed with little things than a big place packed with big things, because every single thing has to be looked at, mostly, unless you're decluttering your paper bag collection, which is a little bit easier.
Has anyone else got any questions? Bernie?
Yeah, just Liz, this has been most intriguing and interesting. I'm at the other end of the spectrum trying to get rid of, you know, my life, not literally.
No, I know.
That sense of self actually really resonated, and I've got a pile of materials and useful writings and lots of things I've used in my career. How does one make a decision about what to do with this stuff and how to get rid of it?
Okay.
Or
are you good?
Sorry?
Or not? Or not, you mean? Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can use a couple of my clients as examples. So I have 2 clients who have kept an archive of their work life. The gentleman was a sea captain. So he was a sea captain from the 1950s, right up until he retired. He's now 98. And he is intending on writing his life story. He wants to keep quite a lot of things like logbooks and maps and plans and photographs and shipping books. So we prioritized a space for him in his little office, and we organized it all into files and boxes, put the books in order on the shelf so he has a space where he can refer to them and use them. And another client who has chronic disorganization. She's incapable of organizing at all. She's a very creative person. She lives a life of such fluidity that she can't keep track of anything at all. So we had to create her an archive of Sistema boxes. We just put everything that she didn't want to lose from her very long career in therapy into enormous Sistema boxes, and we labeled them and we put them in such a way so that she could flip through them and find what it is that she needed. And she prioritized those into her storage unit. So another client of mine was moving into a retirement village, and she had a beautiful collection of china, lovely old teacup sets mostly. She loved those tea plate, saucer and cups. But the display that she had was in her retirement complex was very small. She could only keep about, oh gosh, I can't even remember how many she had. Let's just say about a quarter of what it was that she had. So we had to think of ways for her to let go of these pieces. The reason that she had this collection was because her grandmother gave her 3 or 4, I think, sets. They were Wedgwood, and she just loved them so much, and everybody saw that she loved them, so of course they gave her gifts of these beautiful sets over the years. So many of them meant so much to her. We did a prioritization test. We sat down with all the sets and we did a priority test. What is the most important set to her, like the one set she would go to if the house was on fire? She would rescue that set. And she quite easily identified not just one, but the sets that her grandmother gave her. So that was 4 sets out of umpteen. And we knew that we could probably fit in about 12 sets in her china cabinet. That was what she had prioritized for the space that she had. So we went through, we divided them up into 3. We did a maybe, give to family, because she knew that some people did actually want some of them, and a donate. So the last 2, they were actually quite easy, because she could actually say, yes, I actually don't like that one as much. I wouldn't run back into the house if that was on fire, and I would not save that teacup. So they went into the donate box. The family one, they were also quite easy because her little granddaughters had already identified which ones they wanted. So we packed those into little gift boxes that she had prepared, along with some other things that she was clearing out of her home. Some little ornaments and dear little lace pennies that her grandmother had once had, because she was a maid in a house. So each little girl got one of those. And the maybes, they were the tricky ones. So that took a couple of goes to work our way through those. We both decided that it would have to be a emotional choice, not a logical choice. So we did a couple of sweeps through where we just refined it down a little bit more. How important is that one compared to that one? How important is this one compared to those, the ones that you have chosen? And we got there eventually. She was very brave and very sensible, which is part of letting go, is reprioritizing what your purpose is, why you have to let go of these things. Have you read the book, The Art of Swedish Death Cleaning?
No.
Okay, it's awesome. It's written by a lovely woman who's Swedish, and she's not dying. She's good as gold, but she knows that she will one day, and she does not want to be a burden to her family, to her daughter. So she wrote a book about her mindset and her tricks and tips and things like that for how she managed to reduce everything down to the bare minimum. But she clearly has a strategy. She has a plan. She knows what she wants. The end result is less stuff for my daughter to have to dispose of. Like my client with the china teacups, her priority was moving into a smaller space, got to reduce. So that's I really recommend reading that book for anyone who is at the beginning of decluttering, or at the beginning of downsizing particularly, because it really wakes you up. It's like such a shocking title. People were horrified. They didn't really realize what it was about, but it's just a book about decluttering. It's just a different perspective. So she was smart, good marketing.
The title again, please, Liz.
The Art of Swedish Death Cleaning.
Death cleaning.
Death cleaning. Yes, I know. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Very helpful. Thank you.
Could I
Oh,
ask?
you're welcome, Bernie. You're welcome.
So with that woman you talked about with the 73 or so handbags.
Yes.
I thought that was really interesting, the poverty mindset, because when you first said it, I thought, oh, that wouldn't apply to me because I didn't really grow up in poverty. I grew up in a working class home. But when you described what it was, the poverty mindset, there's so much money in that I can't let it go. Like that's a big one for me with wardrobe items.
Yeah.
Particularly with wardrobe items, I'm very much a hoarder with my wardrobe, and I really need to do work there. Did she not get her head around selling those items, those handbags? Just selling them on Trade Me and getting good money for them?
Because she wouldn't get back the money that she paid for them.
Okay.
Yeah, she had serious issues with letting go, but yeah, she was a very strong-minded woman, and she was very, very determined to not let anything go. So she prioritized. But one of the best things I've ever experienced when it comes to decluttering clothes is a party. I have another client who has just a really ordinary home and just a small wardrobe. It's just like 2 slidey doors, but it literally is like, it gushes out all over the floor. It's like this pile. There are hangers in there. You can see them through the gaps, but it's she can't get to them because everything's just being shoved and piled up in front of it. It's just a phenomenal amount of clothing. So what we decided to do, and she hasn't done it yet, she's moving towards that, is to pull out the clothes that she wants to sell, which was actually quite easy because there were some things that she knows she had bought and never worn with the tags on, so she could easily sell those. So I taught her how to do it properly on Trade Me so that people will buy them, because selling clothes on Trade Me is not as easy as people think. There's a certain things you need to do. Very simple. And the other thing she was going to do was just pull out the things that she liked a lot and had trouble getting rid of because they were not designer, nothing no super duper, but they were really nice. So she decided to have a party with her friends and do a clothing swap, except she's not allowed to swap, she's only allowed to give. And because these women, she absolutely loved them with all her heart, she was really happy to do that. And it means she got to have a party. So there's going to be wine and clothes and chocolate and cake. And she's also thinking about doing some of that with her keepsakes as well. Well, not keepsakes, but she's got like a big china cabinet full of pretty things that she actually wants to get rid of the cabinet because she doesn't like it, and swap it over for a desk for her daughter to be able to do her drawing in the family room, just to have enough room, really small house. So that's her plan. She's going to have a party. She's going to sell some, and she's going to have a swap party. That seemed to really resolve a lot of her heart issues and a lot of her money issues as well.
Right. So for me, I've got this box of stuff to sell on Trade Me that are things like designer dresses that I think I could get money for. The reason I want to get money for them is so that I can then go out and buy more clothes. So you see my problem. So I have this.
Yes, I do.
It's an addiction, and especially recycled boutiques. So
Yep.
they're my favourite place to shop. Makes me feel good, sustainable. You get really unique items at a really great price.
Yep.
When I'm thinking about selling clothes, I'm thinking about what I can then go and get to upgrade my wardrobe. So there's this constant thing. One is I procrastinate and don't get around to selling the clothes. And secondly, I'm constantly thinking about what I then would be able to go and get that would invigorate and excite my wardrobe. And yet on a daily basis, what I find is I've got so much stuff all hanging there that I'm wondering what the hell to wear. So like I've got so many clothes now, and I get that I've got a real issue. Like I've got so many clothes, I'm like, I don't have enough time to work out what I'm going to wear, so I'll just throw on the same stuff anyway, you know?
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
have a ridiculous amount of clothes, and my husband and I created me a wardrobe to accommodate them. So
Right.
this what was going to be a bathroom into a long walk-in wardrobe. So it's like 1, 2, easily 3 meters long. It's beautiful. I love it. But I don't keep it that tidy. I'm constantly retidying it. So yeah, I'm not quite sure how to do this. Like, I've had a few friends offer, they're like desperate to come and help me declutter my wardrobe. And I'm really threatened by them because they're real minimalists. They love throwing stuff out. And I'm scared to even let them near me and it. But I do want something about it. I know I've got a problem. Yeah.
So I agree about not letting friends declutter with you. Sometimes it does work, and that's great, but most often they have too much of an emotional connection with you. You have too much history. There's a lot going on there. Just saying, I'm not going to say that you have to have a professional, but a professional, all they care about is that you're happy. End of story, really. That is, you're happy and you get the result that you want at the end, whatever that means. And a part of that is negotiating with you and discovering with you just exactly what your priorities truly are. Because a lot of the time we're too busy to really concentrate on it. If you sit down with someone and you have a serious conversation about, and that's usually part and parcel of my decluttering process with a client, is so much talking about whys and whens and whos and how much money and what does that mean to you, and how do you feel about that, and what do you want to see moving forwards. It sounds to me like you are a dreamer, an inventor of things, a creator of ideas. Like, you can visualize all the beautiful things that you can do with your wardrobe. Do you get a chance to actually shop?
Sometimes, yeah, probably once every couple of weeks. I'll find a moment in my week where I can pop into a little place and have 45 minutes, and it's delicious for me to do that. You know, like, I'll just scour shelves for 45 minutes and have a really fun time. And if I find something, that's a bonus. Probably once every couple of weeks when I'm out of the meeting, I'll find a moment. So instead of being away from the house for 2 hours, it's more like 3.5.
Okay. So
what a lot of about the shopping.
Because that time that you spend shopping, it is part of how you are going to prioritize sorting out your wardrobe as to whether you would like to decide that once a month or once every 3 months, and when you get that urge to shop, instead, I'm not saying to stop doing it completely, like you have your shopping opportunities because it gives you so much pleasure, is using an hour when you might race out and go shopping to go through your wardrobe and pull out something else to sell and put it on Trade Me, just so you're getting money. So you're getting a dopamine hit from doing something, but it's not bringing more in, it's getting something out.
Yeah, because, you know, that's the thing. It's a real weakness for me is maintenance. So yeah, I am a creator. I do create projects, and I love dreaming. And for me, maintenance is one of my weaknesses. So regular maintenance and taking care of things is one of my weaknesses. And when you said the husband in the relationship, I'm the husband, and my husband is the woman. So he's his wardrobe is insanely beautiful, and it's, you know, like folded everything, and he is ongoingly encouraging me to declutter all the rooms in our house all the time. So my decluttering need occurs all around my home. It's great that I'm married to him, because, you know, I think I'd be a bit of chaos if I wasn't, because he really encourages these processes. But it's quite excruciating, especially with him, you know. It needs to come from within.
It absolutely does, most definitely. But there is a lot of compromise, though. It sounds like you're really good together. You do that, because I mean, if he is suffering because there is clutter outside of his that he can manage, his threshold, then that's something that you need to respect as well. But clearly he respects you. He's not pressuring you to declutter. You're just talking about it as a thing that you probably need to do. Does that sound right?
Yeah, he's gently encouraging me quite regularly.
That's really good.
This weekend, should we do this weekend? And I'm like, why don't we go to the beach for a walk? He's like, well, this will make you feel clearer and more comfortable in the home. And I'm like, yeah, but this will bring me joy. So there's that kind of whole thing going on. And, you know, know that I feel amazing whenever we do a project where we do clear something up, whether it be the storage room or I've got a little room that's mine that keeps on getting stuff dumped in it, and we keep clearing it up. And I feel amazing once things are clear. And then I do struggle to maintain. So I do struggle to put things away in their right place, all of that stuff, because I'm off on my next project, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Sorry.
Good feeling is crucial. The fact that you do remember it is great, because you can try and use it. It really depends on how important this is to you. I'm going to be honest, it does sound to me like it's not very important to you at all. You'd much rather just go and have fun and do nice things. And that is absolutely fine, because that's just you. And that's wonderful. That just makes you the lovely person that you are. If your husband if it's causing difficulty for him, then that might be really important for you to prioritize it a little bit more, to do things like schedule in once every month a period of time when you just have to go, I've got to declutter. This sucks, but it was okay last time, and just do it. Just schedule it in and just do it, but at a spaced out time period that it's not too onerous, and you still get to do all the wonderful things that you want to do because you're doing it for him, pretty much.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I don't prioritize him and his needs probably enough, and that does create friction. And then I end up feeling like he's coming at me with a whole lot of boring stuff that he thinks we should do. But at the end of the day, maybe that's because I don't prioritize him and his needs in the first place. I'll think about it. I don't want to hog the questions.
No worries. It's a very common thing that I come across is it's about both of you respecting each other's needs within the shared space. You're together because you love each other. You respect each other in every other way, but having a common ground or coming to negotiating a compromise to make sure that you're both happy within your living space is just as important as respect in other areas of your relationship as well, because you both live there, you spend a lot of time there, and you both want to be happy there. So it's just another thing to bear in mind.
Yeah, go for it. I've got two quick questions. One, will you share your car guy in West Auckland by any chance?
Okay. Oh, sure. It's just the guy underneath the Henderson Mall.
Oh, okay. In there. Do you
know the Henderson Mall?
Yeah. So I know.
Sorry, that broke up. What did you say?
Yes.
Yeah. So I haven't been there for about a couple of months now. I really must, because my car's looking a bit gross. So yeah, they're really good. At actually really very reasonable prices, and they usually get done really quickly too.
It's Western, yeah, Henderson Square, yeah. And the old the other question was, when you've got cupboards in a bedroom, but not shelves that pull out, and they're deep, and you lose things in the back. Do you know where you can buy something nice like a basket to put in there so you can pull things out to make it like drawers? I've been looking.
Absolutely.
For find.
It depends really what it is that you are storing. It's the same with pantries as well. Deep narrow pantries drive me bananas. Who designs those things? So frustrating. I would probably just scour. It depends on how much you want to spend. Surprisingly, Kmart has some fantastic simple baskets and boxes and things that you can buy. They're the best for pantry storage as well, just for the sheer choice that you have. Storage box pretty good, particularly the really big ones like the one in Newmarket and Albany. They have a lot of choices, but they're a lot more expensive, but they're prettier. Sometimes the warehouse can really surprise you with what they have. So the trick is, if you've got a tall cupboard that's also wide and deep, you need to make the most use of the height that you have. So if you can get tall, narrow baskets, then you can fit more in that way, and you can slide them in and out. So the dimensions are crucial. You need to be able to slide things in and out. If you've got like a one cupboard, rather than having a basket with things tottering and piled up, it might be better to have two tall baskets side by side you can pull out independently. And even if they're in a cupboard that you shut, it doesn't really matter what they look like, as long as you're not, completely offended by whatever it looks like. Just clear perspex, or just plastic, one that look like pretend weave. Depends on the size and the dimensions that you sit. So you need to get your measuring out. You need to get your tape measure out. Make sure everything's.
It's lots of shelves, so they're not high. They're long, they're wide, and they're deep, but not high, because it's all closed.
Is there a cupboard? Can you close it away, or do you want to open it? Look at beautiful things.
Oh, it's got a door.
Look at beautiful baskets.
It's a wardrobe.
Okay. All right. Yeah, absolutely. If you're going to want to look for really attractive baskets, and you don't mind spending a bit, because it's an investment, they'll last as well. I probably would go straight to a good storage box, like the Newmarket one's my favorite one.
All right. Cool.
Lots of pretty things in there. Yeah.
Did you answer Olivia's question about working through extended seasons of change with your things, like between pregnancies or house renovations?
Work through in between pregnancies or house renovations, extended seasons of change. Wow, that's a really good question. Extended seasons of change. Right. So I actually do help a lot of people in between or prepare for renovations, if that's what Olivia means. Your vision of how you want your life to look after that period of change is what you need to hold on to. Sometimes we don't have a very clear idea, and that is actually wonderful, because that gives you a real opportunity for looking at a completely fresh way of being when you get to the other side. I think removing things that you do not like. Number one, we always have stuff in our house that we do not like. Things that no longer appeal to us, things that no longer serve us, things that we know about, or they don't fit the new style that we're hoping for. They can all go. You can use these seasons of change as a cleansing, if you like. You can use it as a method of rejuvenation or a complete transformation. If you struggle with that concept, if you prefer the security of your things around you, then you can still make small changes that will prepare you for those two particular big life changes, like selling a house as well. It's important to honor what it is that you want to hold on to. And there is nothing wrong with doing double sweeps. Do an easy sweep before your pregnancy or through the months of things that you want to get rid of. If you have a true need to declutter, honor that and do it. Part of your emotional process of preparing for your baby. Also for house renovations, you don't have to get rid of absolutely everything. You can do an easy sweep. You just have to remember that what you'll be doing is you'll be packing up all the stuff that you leave behind and storing it, or moving it if you're moving house as well. So it's so important to not be mean to yourself, to be kind and honor how you are feeling. And that may change over the time that you're preparing as well. And that's fine. You can accommodate that. Just go easy, perhaps at the first part of this. And then you can perhaps get your decluttering muscles a bit stronger. You might find that you feel even more like purging even as you get closer and closer to the time when you need to make the most change. Amy, to everyone, you can drop your clothes off at the recycle boutiques and 3 lamps. Yes, that's absolutely right. Yep, there are a couple of recycle boutiques around. There's one in Ponsonby, on Ponsonby Road as well. Is it called Tatters? Something like that. It's a lovely one you can do as well. If you are having trouble donating clothes, by the way, a lot of op shops won't take clothes because people have been decluttering like mad. and they're completely overwhelmed, you can still put them in the blue cancer bins, because 50% I think of the profits goes still to fundraising for cancer. And what that company that manages that's all they do. They do clothes. So that's a really good way of getting rid of clothes and they also take cotton rags, so you can donate towels and sheets and things like that they can tear up and turn into rags. They have a method of doing that. Just need to identify that when you put them in the bag, wrap it up, maybe write cotton rags on them. That's really good. If you're not going to donate them to the SPCA, that is, they're always happy to get old towels and blankets and things like that. I read recently about vacuum sealed storage bags to store baby clothes between pregnancies. Hannah, yes, you're absolutely right. That's a really good idea. You can also put them in steamer bins. They're great because they keep things clean and dry. I did have a lady who had she's a darling woman. She could not let go of any of her baby's clothes at all, any of them, for a very long time. And that was one of the best ways for her to manage that, was to put them in, I like your seal bags because they make them a lot smaller, sucks them right down. But this woman had the luxury of one of those pull down step ladder thingies into the attic. So she put all her baby clothes into steamer boxes and popped them up there until she was ready. It was a really good compromise. Got them out of their premium storage space in the home where they were living, but she knew they were safe. From Olivia, okay, thanks. Honour your need to declutter. I like that. Good, you're welcome. Farah, how do you store open packets of biscuits and other packaged food items if you run out of jars? There is absolutely nothing wrong with investing in Tupperware. You know, there is actually Tupperware in New Zealand, which is I only recently discovered like last year. So that's really great. Mostly there's nothing wrong with keeping good quality plastic, airtight, sealed containers that you keep for a long time. Click Clack make some really good quality products that will last forever, as long as you don't break them. So it's another thing about sustainable acquisition. As long as you know that they are quality and that they are sizes that you can use for other things as you move forward through your life, and they're a color or style that you like, then makes perfect sense. The other thing I often use is you can get now sustainable Ziploc bags made of silicone. They're great, particularly if you're racing through chippies or crackers. You don't need to keep them in a box container, and maybe perhaps you have like an open container. You can put them in Ziploc bags, keeps them fresh, and you can stagger them like that, step them through an open box. You can slide in and out, or open the lid if you like, pull them out and open the zips. And that's another way I've been helping people to use up their non-sustainable Ziploc bags, because they still have them, they don't know what to do with them. So you can use those for sealing up packets quickly and easily, so you can pop them in. You can use them for little pieces of toys and puzzles. They're really handy, the big ones, for you can slip a whole puzzle in, or you can just empty all the bits into it and keep everything together. Also handy inside the boxes as well, using Ziploc bags. They're very handy. Any other questions?
Thank you so much, Liz. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So good. Has anybody else got one last question, or anything, any comments, or any support for any self-isolating humans? I think this has been really successful.
James, can we ask one more question here?
Yeah.
So with the wardrobe, I truly do want to declutter my wardrobe. So what about the fear that you're going to want to wear that one day?
Yes.
So you haven't worn it for a year, but you know it's a beautiful piece, and it is a beautiful piece, and you won't get your money back on it, and it's really gorgeous. And it may be that in a year and a half there'll be this party that's perfect for, or yeah. And so that's what a lot of my stuff that I'm holding on to is. It's, well, no, maybe half of it, maybe a quarter of it actually. But a lot of it is stuff that it's a beautiful piece, and there could be that perfect cocktail party or wedding or time when I want to wear that, and I'll be, why didn't I keep that thing? Because I've had that, I've got rid of stuff, and then I've gone like, if only I'd kept that thing, and it's really annoyed me.
There are multiple aspects to that. My first instinct is keep it and don't throw those things away, and get rid of other stuff, because that's a really important priority for you. However, you also love to buy new and beautiful things. So if you did decide to remove one of those things from your wardrobe and sell it or give it to a friend or whatever you decide to do, you can then treat yourself to going on a hunt to replace it, if you want, with something that you will wear this year. Another alternative would be you have to give it a lifespan. So you can decide that if you don't wear it within another year, that is potentially 2 years that you haven't worn it. And you can then at that point decide what you want to do with it, whether you're going to give it away or sell it. But those truly beautiful things, they're not that I would suggest that you declutter from your wardrobe. Do the easy things first, or things that are slightly less easy, slightly less hard than those ones, because they sound to me almost like pieces of art that you have chosen and you adore. So those, last things that I would suggest that you get rid of, even if you haven't worn them. But you may have to decide that a life cycle needs to be applied to them. I have had a client who has kept all her clothes from the 1970s, 1980s and 1990s. She specifically has kept things from the older part of her life because she loves to dress up her friends and grandchildren when they want to go to parties. So she keeps it specifically for that. Like, she's literally got awesome gold flares and, you know, all that kind of ABBA kind of clothes, which are original. And she decided that she would keep them. She prioritized them because they are absolutely gorgeous and she loves them more than anything else in her wardrobe. So she prioritized them over everything else. So it's not, most of the time people expect me to say, right, turn your hanger around, put it round backwards, and if you haven't worn it in 6 months, toss it out. That doesn't apply to someone who adores clothing. And you've made a beautiful big wardrobe, which is your container. So if your container becomes unmanageable and a stress to you, then that's when you need to start thinking logically, but also honoring is a really good word, honoring what you love and what makes you happy, because that's the point of life. Why make yourself unhappy by getting rid of beautiful things when you can easily get rid of, say you've got 7 pairs of black pants, so whittle it down to a number that makes sense, instead of getting rid of your gorgeous dresses.
I think one thing, I'm a bit of a hoarder as well, and one thing that I found with clothes is that same thing of either, oh, but I've spent so much money on it, or, oh, but maybe I'll wear it again. Like, what happens if and so I had all these suits from when I used to be in corporate, which is 8 years ago now, like 8 years ago. I kept those suits until 6 months ago. Sitting in the back of my wardrobe thinking, oh, but maybe I'll go to a professional meeting sometime and I'd like to wear that 3-piece suit. You know, I had like one with like a cute little waistcoat from this beautiful Melbourne designer suit store that I bought, and it was really, you know, it was like $1,000 a set or something. And I found it really hard to give up because but I might wear that again. And I kind of got to that point where I was like, I'm never going to wear them again. I mean, this is as dressy as I ever get. And what I found really like empowering, and you mentioned it, Liz, was knowing that someone else was going to get a lot out of that. So the idea of just giving it to the clothing bin, I don't know, I was like, oh, but these clothes, these suits are like $1,000. But then giving it to Dress for Success, so they take all and knowing that someone who didn't have the money to wear something to make them feel amazing, to get them a good job, that they were going to get something, you know, that felt like a dopamine hit. I was like, oh, I feel really good that someone's going to be able to use this.
But actually, that's an oxytocin hit.
It was
even better.
Even better. Exactly, that love. So maybe with some of the things, if you give it to like a Tatties, some lady's going to go in there, buy that for $80. And think, wow, I feel amazing.
So what I find sometimes is I go to Tatties and I go to the nice recycle boutiques and they only take a quarter of what I take in. And then I think I just need to get over it and let go of the other stuff. But I know that I've got like people, there would be people that a lot of my friends aren't my size, but there'd be people who would really dig these clothes, but then they go off to hospital. Well, I just need to let go. I need to let go.
Or do the party. Yeah, or I think
Yeah.
you would. I think you would enjoy the party, getting them around, some more treats, and then
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's about changing your mindset around what it is that you own and why you are holding on to them.
Yeah.
And the feeling of generosity that we give when we give things away, that really can override a lot of that.
Yeah. Good call. Yeah. And I think practices in my wardrobe is what you've made me realise. And thank you for acknowledging my love for clothing and my passion for fashion, because it is so there. And I do have vintage pieces that sit in the back of my wardrobe waiting for that party, and I love them. I'm not letting them go, you know. And but I think what you've highlighted for me is the desire, the need for practices to, one, keep my wardrobe in order more regularly, and the other thing that I've forgotten it, but as you were talking, I thought, yeah, I've got to have practices to keep my wardrobe really in order so that I can work out what to wear. I do have all the dresses in one place, because I have this slightly chaotic gene where I'll throw something back not in the right place. So I actually think it would be of real value and serve me so well to create practices in my wardrobe, like wardrobe hygiene almost. And
Absolutely.
learn from the masters on that, because I am not one. I just have the space, but I'm not managing it well, I feel. And the other thing I've forgotten, but it was really good, it will come back to me. It will come back to me.
Tracy, I think you need to employ.
Yeah, a lot of maintaining.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Amy. What was that, Amy?
I think that Tracy needs to employ the services of Liz, the tidy lady.
Yeah. I'm going to look at your website.
Anytime.
Yeah.
But yes, it's about a little bit of self-discipline and maintaining habits, just for the benefit of your future self, so that the next time you go in there, you don't feel like your brain's going to explode. So you think future self's going to say thank you for keeping it organized.
And it's also honouring that I do have this space now. For years, I never had this wardrobe space. So I don't want to abuse that. I want to just like really roll with that and make it amazing to work with as well. Awesome. And then part of that is the decluttering. There's so much in there that does need to go. Yeah.
And if it's easy, then that's a good place to just do a sweep, just move those out and then organise after that.
Yeah.
Awesome. This has been so cool. Thank you so much, Liz.
You're welcome, Amy.
Next week, what do we have, Buffy?
Oh, we have energy healing with Trish, so you can probably talk a bit more about that.
Oh yeah, awesome. I don't know much about it, but Trish is going to send me a little video today that I'll put up in the Essentialists. And I just want to say this online forum is very similar to our in-person classes. So you're always more than welcome to invite friends, family, etc. along to join in on these classes. Yes, so please don't feel excluded. And also I think it's so awesome that Buffy's invited people over to her place. Like even though we're in, social isolation, we can still invite people around to our homes and share this with other, with our friends. I just think that, going to a cafe with 40 women with babies slobbering and coughing all over each other probably isn't best practice in the current circumstances. But I think this small group forum is really good. And I think it's a really great opportunity for us to engage with our friends and loved ones and invite them in these times as well, because we will probably go through more than the physical aspect, mental health things will come up over the next couple of months. Even though we think we're good, we've got this, I think all of us are feeling a little bit fearful, a little bit unsure of what's happening and what's going to happen to our businesses and our friends' businesses and our homes and things like that. So I think, bringing a small group of friends together on a Wednesday and joining in on this video conferencing and then having a cup of tea, coffee afterwards and talking about oils is a great plan going forward. So next week, I hope to see you all in your lovely living rooms, safe and well with your little group of friends. So yeah, we don't have to be completely isolated. And we're going to have some really great speakers over the next few weeks that we've got lined up. So we've got Trish with energy healing. We've got your beautiful friend Buffy.
Marique. She's a Marique. She's
a health coach, so she's going to be doing health. We've got some really great speakers coming up. So
talk about gut health after that.
Yeah, Joe's got a gut health one. Buffy and I are doing one on immune support.
Yeah.
And then Alana Ranger is doing the second week of the holidays on mum, some essential tips for mums, which will be great as well. So keeping the kids healthy and well over the school holidays, which might be extended now. Yeah, so I'm going to end this now because it is 12 o'clock. But yeah, all be safe and well, and if we could start organising our people to come online and be part of this so that they feel really part of the community. I don't want people to feel that now that we're not meeting in the cafe that the community's died, and I feel like I can hang out with you guys today. I feel good. I've seen Hannah eating, and like Hannah's baby will be eating next time we see her on here. No. So have an awesome week, guys, and I will post this in the Essentialists and just tag everybody in that didn't get to watch it. See you later.